The story begins with Harry sitting alone and lost in thought in a park on a hot day. He is disturbed by his cousin, Dudley, and his gang. Suddenly, it starts raining and they all scatter. Dudley, who lives nearby, takes shelter under a small bridge. Two Dementors then appear and attack them. Harry, who is still conscious, immediately casts the Patronus spell to repel the two Dementors. Then Mrs. Fig, Harry's neighbor, arrives and tells him that Professor Dumbledore sent her to watch over him. Harry escorts Dudley, whose face has drastically changed after the incident. Harry receives a letter from the Ministry of Magic, stating that he has been expelled from Hogwarts for using the Patronus spell in front of a Muggle. Harry tries to sleep, but is unable to because his bedroom door is open. Professor Moody and some of his friends then enter. Harry is taken out of the house and given a broomstick. They quickly fly to London and arrive at a building where Harry is asked to join his friends. Hermione hugs Harry right away, and there's Ron, his two brothers, and Ginny. They explain that this building is the headquarters of the Secret Order, formed by Professor Dumbledore to fight Voldemort. During dinner, Harry meets Sirius Black, and Professor Lupin is also there. Professor Moody's friend, Kingsley, gives Harry the Daily Prophet newspaper, which says that Harry is being mocked by Minister Cornelius Fudge for claiming that Voldemort has returned. Professor Lupin also mentions that Fudge is attacking Dumbledore because he is seen as a threat to Fudge's position in the Ministry. The next morning, Arthur Weasley takes Harry to the Ministry of Magic for his trial, which is led by Cornelius Fudge. Dumbledore is also present. Harry tries to explain what happened clearly. Fudge asks for a witness, and Dumbledore brings in Mrs. Fig to testify. There is a little debate during the trial, but Harry is eventually cleared of all charges because many of the jurors support him. After arriving at Hogwarts, Harry and his two friends meet Luna Lovegood, a girl who seems to be avoided by many Hogwarts students. During dinner, Professor Dumbledore announces that the defense against the dark arts position will be filled by Dolores Umbridge, Fudge's assistant, whom Harry saw during his trial. The students realize that the Ministry will be directly interfering in the school's affairs. The next morning, during class, the new professor hands out a book that does not explain how to use spells at all, even though spells are crucial in defending against the dark arts. Harry protests, believing that these spells would be useful in fighting Lord Voldemort if he were to attack. Professor Umbridge denies this and dismisses Harry's concerns as nonsense. Harry adds to his argument, but Umbridge stops him and orders him to come to her office later that afternoon. Harry is punished by having to write the sentence, "I must not tell lies," using a special quill that carves the words into his skin. Because of this incident, Harry feels uncomfortable at Hogwarts, and writes a letter to Sirius Black. One day, the students saw Professor McGonagall protesting against Umbridge, because her actions were not in line with the rules, but Umbridge denied and instead got angry, claiming that Professor McGonagall did not appreciate her work as the Ministry's envoy. Soon after, the Ministry issued a decree that Dolores Umbridge would become the High Inquisitor of Hogwarts. Everyone realized that there was now a truly irritating witch in their school. During Professor Trelawney's class, Umbridge asked to have her fortune told. Professor Trelawney predicted that a great danger would befall Umbridge. Professor Trelawney was then fired that evening out of spite. Fortunately, Professor Dumbledore came and prevented the attempted expulsion. After everything was settled, Harry called for Professor Dumbledore, but Professor Dumbledore did not respond. One evening, Sirius appeared in the Gryffindor common room fireplace. Harry, Ron, and Hermione were the only ones there. Sirius wasn't surprised by the Ministry's oppressive agent. He said that Minister Fudge believed that Harry and Dumbledore were forming their own army to seize the Ministry. That's why Umbridge wasn't teaching the students any spells. Ron and Hermione gathered a few close friends to secretly learn spells. Although hesitant at first, Harry eventually taught them defense against the dark arts lessons, and everyone supported him. On a certain day, Neville discovered the Room of Requirement within the castle. He told Harry and the others, and they quickly established the room as a place to learn defense against the dark arts. They were almost caught by Mr. Filch, who always waited outside the entrance to catch them when they left, without knowing that they had left through another door. Umbridge became suspicious that Harry and his friends were hiding something. She recruited some students, including Malfoy and his gang, to investigate the secret. The holiday is coming soon, and Harry's friends are becoming more proficient. After class, Harry kisses Cho, and they know they have fallen in love with each other. That night, he had a nightmare as usual, but this time it felt very real. He saw Ron's father, Arthur Weasley, being attacked by a snake while alone at the Ministry. Harry and the Weasley children were gathered by Professor Dumbledore after Harry told him about the dream. Professor Snape also came, asked by Professor Dumbledore to teach Harry something. Professor Snape explained that Harry's mind was like being possessed by Voldemort. He believed that this was one of Voldemort's tactics to torture Harry. Professor Snape trained Harry to fight back if his mind couldn't be controlled. When the new semester arrived, Ron, Hermione, and Harry went to Hagrid's hut. Hagrid had negotiated with a giant to support Dumbledore, and fortunately he succeeded. Harry taught his friends magic as usual in the Room of Requirement. They were learning the Patronus charm when Dolores Umbridge suddenly appeared, along with Malfoy, who came with Cho. Harry tried to defend Dumbledore when he faced Minister Fudge, but Fudge had already accused Dumbledore of conspiracy. Before being arrested, Dumbledore escaped using his phoenix bird. Minister Fudge immediately appointed Umbridge as the new headmistress of Hogwarts. One day, Hagrid took Ron, Hermione, and Harry to the forest to meet a giant. When they arrived, Hagrid greeted and introduced them to a giant named Grop. Harry returned to learning how to control his mind with Professor Snape. Snape used his harsh methods to try to convince Harry and belittle Harry's father and Sirius. Harry became angry and entered Snape's memory. In that memory, Harry found out that his father was not as he had thought. His father used to bully Snape, and so did Sirius Black. Before delving further, Snape told Harry to stop and end the lesson. Snape was really angry. The next day, the exams took place. Everyone gathered in the hall and was immediately supervised by Professor Umbridge. Suddenly, Fred and George Weasley arrived on their broomsticks. They set off fireworks throughout the hall, causing chaos. The twins threw a dragon-shaped firework that chased Umbridge. She was chased out of the room. Everyone cheered. Fred and George took their friends outside and set off fireworks in the shape of the letter W for Weasley. Harry regained his vision. He saw Sirius being tortured by Voldemort. Harry wanted to go and rescue Sirius using the flip powder, but Umbridge arrived and captured him. She interrogated him about Dumbledore's whereabouts. Professor Snape was summoned to Umbridge's room to give Harry the truth potion, but he claimed that the potion was already used to interrogate students, including Cho. Umbridge then threatened Harry with the Cruciatus Curse, but Hermione quickly diverted Umbridge's attention and said that she would tell her where Dumbledore's secret weapon was. Harry and Hermione were taken into the forest by Umbridge to meet Grop. When they arrived, Grop had disappeared. Umbridge said it was just a trap. She saw a herd of centaurs staring at her sharply. Suddenly, Grop came and lifted Umbridge, then was carried away by the centaurs. Ron, Luna, Ginny, and Neville came to meet Harry and Hermione. They rode on Thestrals to go to the Ministry. When they arrived at the Department of Mysteries, there was no one there. Harry took the prophecy ball, which was what Voldemort had been after all along. Suddenly, Lucius Malfoy appeared with his Death Eater followers. They demanded the prophecy ball, but Harry refused to give it up. Harry and his friends fought with all their might. Ginny defeated one of the Death Eaters with the Reducto spell, causing other prophecy balls to fall, and they had to leave the area. They arrived at a closed room with a stone floor and 2 columns in the middle with an arched roof. Lucius and the Death Eaters returned, and they captured Ron and the others. Harry was forced to surrender the prophecy ball. Soon after, Sirius and the other members of the Order of the Phoenix arrived. In the ensuing battle, the prophecy orb was destroyed. And Sirius was killed by Bellatrix Lestrange's Avada Kedavra curse. Despite their victory over Lucius, Bellatrix managed to escape. Professor Lupin tried to console Harry, but Harry was consumed with revenge and chased after Bellatrix to the Ministry's main hallway. But Voldemort came, and soon after, Dumbledore also arrived. Then, the 2 great wizards fought fiercely. Voldemort destroyed the glass around him to attack Dumbledore, but Dumbledore turned the glass into dust. Voldemort then attacked Harry's mind, causing Harry to collapse. Dumbledore tried to convince Harry that Voldemort was not like him. Harry realized this when his friends arrived. Harry realized that Voldemort could not feel what he felt, love and friendship, so he made it his weapon to fight back. Voldemort finally appeared again. He created a barrier so Dumbledore couldn't enter. But when he finally attacked Harry, Minister Fudge and his men arrived and saw Voldemort directly. Finally, they truly believed that Voldemort had returned. The event was reported in the Daily Prophet. Professor Dumbledore resumed his position, Umbridge was suspended, and Minister Fudge was rumored to have resigned. Harry and Dumbledore's reputations were restored.